So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone joining us from around the world. On behalf of Codebase Technologies, I'd like to warmly welcome you to today's webinar, Fintech Frontiers, Transforming Wealth and Crowdfunding in the GCC. My name is Tom Romansky, and I'm thrilled to set the stage for what promises to be a fantastic discussion about the dynamic fintech ecosystem in the GCC region. So before we dive into the conversation, allow me to introduce our distinguished panelists. So first we have Karim Saleh. He is the new Chief Executive Officer of Biban, a visionary leader driving innovation in the crowdfunding space. Karim thrives on the potential of crowdfunding to democratize access to capital for SMEs and startups. And under Karim's leadership, Biban Crowdfunding is reshaping how entrepreneurs access capital in Bahrain and beyond. Welcome, Karim. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Thank you, Karim. We also have with us Nawal Nazir, Senior Associate at Bahrain Fintech Bay, one of the region's most prominent fintech hubs. So Nawal brings her expertise in fostering collaborations between startups, corporates, and regulators to drive financial inclusion and innovation. So thank you for joining us, Nawal, for this session.
Thank you. Thank you, Codebase, for having me on this panel. Thank you.
Thank you. And we have also with us Tamer Mauj, Managing Director for MENA at Codebase Technologies. Tamer has been at the forefront of digital transformation in the financial sector across the MENA region. And he's been leading impactful projects that enable financial institutions to embrace cutting-edge technology and deliver unparalleled value to their customers. Thanks for joining us, Tamer.
Thank you, Tom.
So thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you for being part of this exciting discussion. So let me just start with giving a little bit of a background and framing the discussion that we're going to have today. So the GCC region is witnessing an extraordinary fintech evolution. Crowdfunding is projected to grow exponentially, with the global market expected to reach over 500 billion by 2030. It's a trend that's significantly impacting the GCC and the broader region. This growth is fueled by shifting customer expectations, regulatory support, and the undeniable rise of innovative platforms such as Biban Crowdfunding, as well as associations such as the Bahrain Fintech Bay. Both have been revolutionizing how entrepreneurs and small businesses access funding in Bahrain and championing fintech in the region. Simultaneously, WealthTech is transforming investment landscapes. It's empowering everyday consumers and seasoned investors alike with digital tools to manage and grow their wealth. In fact, according to recent reports, the GCC's fintech market is expected to grow at a 16% CAGR, reaching about 3.45 billion by 2026. And crowdfunding and WealthTech are at the heart of this growth, driving financial inclusion and enabling unprecedented opportunities for individuals and businesses alike. So with that, I'd like to get our panel discussion started with our first topic. And Nawal, perhaps you can address this question or this discussion topic for us first. So Bahrain Fintech Bay is a major driver of fintech innovation in the GCC region. So I wanted to know, how do you see fintech reshaping wealth management, especially with the rise of digital investment platforms such as crowdfunding?
Of course. Fintech is completely changing the game when it comes to wealth management. We're seeing traditional barriers being broken, things like, high minimum investments or limited access to opportunities. And this shift is leveling the playing field, sort of opening up opportunities for a much broader audience. And digital platforms, especially crowdfunding, like you mentioned, are giving everyday people like myself the chance to participate in, funding businesses or projects that were previously only probably, accessible to high net worth individuals. So in making investments more accessible and creating the space where people can get more involved and feel empowered financially, it brings in that factor, of inclusivity, which is really, really important, I feel, in today's dynamic world. It's also providing, a much needed lifeline for startups and small businesses like SMEs, especially in this region where access to alternative funding is still very limited. It's a very nascent stage. And that is why these sort of, digital investment platforms they're becoming a game changer in bridging this gap, in filling that gap of limited sources of funds. And I'll just give you a small example in the context of Bahrain. So in Bahrain, as we all probably know, SMEs play a significant role in making up a majority of the business, 30% of the GDP. So you can see how important this particular sector can prove to be in the Bahraini market. So, this is just what I think that this is how I think that fintech can be reshaping the entire wealth tech sector with their, with these tech savvy digital investment platforms, especially, with the crowdfunding platform that we really need, I think, in the region. Yeah.
Thank you. No, that was very, very detailed, very informative. I think, Kareem, there is something that I was kind of thinking of when Nawal was speaking, and I was, with Biban and the kind of innovation that you guys have done in the crowdfunding space, as Nawal said, to champion financial inclusion and to obviously, connect, investors that might not necessarily be able to invest, without such a digital platform, to businesses. What are kind of the challenges that you've seen maybe with Biban and whether it's customer adoption, whether it's technology, what are the challenges that you've kind of faced maybe, or Biban has faced in bringing such an innovative platform to the market and to the GCC?
Well, there are a lot of challenges, of course, because one of them is mainly the culture itself of reshaping the investment mind in the country. Because you have a lot of individuals who might seek some sort of a way to have secured investments. They put money, for example, in the bank, they buy gold, or they want basically something that is secured. However, if you want basically to have a third arm or a fourth arm of investment where they can have a platform where they can easily onboard it on fully digital, they don't have to basically sign up papers or go through a lot of paperwork, and at the same time see the kind of return that they will get if they got into an investment. That was the idea itself was quite challenging, because you want to make it seamless, but at the same time you want to secure the benefits and the interests of both parties, the investor and the party that's being crowdfunded to. So this is what was one challenge. The second challenge was actually technology, because when you come to bring a seamless experience from a technological perspective, it's very, very challenging. The matter of onboarding the clients itself was a challenge, because how can you convert a lead into an actual registration? This is a challenge. How can you build a very, very easy and simple mobile application for them to track their investments? That is also a challenge, because there are other competitors. Yes, they are working, but the way that the campaigns and the opportunities are displayed for people who are not involved professionally in investment, this can be like a push off or something that would intimidate them to come in, because it might look, it seems very complicated, I might lose my money. So this is another challenge. The third challenge is it's about adopting the different payment technology tools into the platform. How can we basically embed a wallet so that they can put their money into the wallet and then start to basically pay or participate or start jumping into investment opportunities? How can we bring back the yields? How can we basically put all of this package into one single platform, whether it's on mobile or on web, so that they can, have this seamless experience? We have successfully worked with code-based technologies in bringing this to life, and we're quite happy with the result. Of course, there is a lot of room of growth, because as you know, there are a lot of branches for crowdfunding that are taking place. But we are extremely confident that any future challenges that will come will be basically met with a lot of resilience, because we have a very robust technical infrastructure. So this is basically sums it up.
No, thank you for that. That's very detailed. I mean, it's interesting to see kind of the various challenges and how you've kind of been able to kind of overcome them. And I think mindset is always, it seems to be a kind of trend that we see in a lot of digital transformation initiatives, whether it's wealth tech or banking or fintechs. I think the mindset and people being, able to adapt to new technologies and new ways of doing things is always kind of a key aspect of it, right?
Yes.
And I think that segues nicely into kind of the next question, which I'd like to pose to Tamer. Technological platform and technology was something that Kareem mentioned as sort of a challenge and a thing that was overcome for Biban. So from your perspective, Tamer, like what kind of emerging technologies do you see as being the most impactful in sort of shaping the future of wealth tech and crowdfunding in the region?
Tom, that's a lengthy question with a lengthy answer, but definitely, first off, what we need to do is what's important is to understand the relationship, first of all, between wealth tech and crowdfunding, right? So wealth tech provides the technological infrastructure and the tools to support the crowdfunding, while crowdfunding platforms do create the opportunities and link investors, startups, businesses, and projects without the traditional financial intermediaries, right? So, even if you look at the past few years, we've seen in general technology like significantly disrupt the different segments in banking and in crowd funding. And these are one of the areas I think they're experiencing a major transformation at large. So you got to focus here on those emerging technologies and look at open banking. So open banking is a technology that does enable secure sharing of financial data, between financial institutions and what's important is third-party platforms through what we call APIs. So with open banking, digital crowdfunding platforms are able to probably seamlessly integrate services like if we take digital eKYC during onboarding. And those APIs, enable them to access verified data from banks, including transaction, histories, account ownership details, and balances, and et cetera, and so on and so forth. So this may also connect government databases to national identity systems, and ensure those robust compliance with anti-money laundering AML systems. This is for looking at the customer from the customer angle and doing that due diligence from a CDD requirement, I would say. And using technology does help, of course, strengthen the security to simplify the onboarding process for both the investors, both investors platforms. So that's from the open banking, I would say, perspective. Now, if we look at AI, for example, and we had that discussion before, we kicked off the webinar with our friends today, AI. So we've seen how, AI tools like ChatGPT had taken different industries by storm, right? But this is just the tip of what AI is capable of doing. So AI in crowdfunding is, I would say, revolutionizing how platforms assess risk, then predict investment opportunities, and personalize user experiences, such as the algorithms. And they can analyze large amounts, of data from potential investors and projects to predict success rates. Machine learning is another angle. Also helps optimize decision making by continuously improving based on past data, in general. So that is an important part. We can look at or zoom into blockchain. So blockchain is one of the major technologies with immense potential to disrupt the crowdfunding in I would say near future. So some of the unique features that it presents really could include what we call immutability, right? So immutability means once a transaction is recorded on blockchain, it cannot be altered or erased. So all information remains secured and tamper-proof. So in crowdfunding, this technology is really a game changer, as investors needs to have the reassurances and their contributions and projects are permanently recorded to reduce, of course, the potential of fraud again and manipulation and anything in that space. Then we look at I would say digitalization. So blockchain protects through that the network of nodes, right? Which means there's no central authority controlling the system, unlike traditional systems, where the enterprise process is managed by the central institutions like central banks and so on and so forth. For project owners, it provides access to a broader pool of investors without the need for traditional, financial gatekeepers, if you like. If we also look at transparency, so transparency has been a major concern, especially with traditional crowdfunding models, as investors often have limited visibility into how funds are being allocated or progress of projects. So blockchain decentralized ledger provides full visibility in every transaction, I would say. So for investors, this transparency does reduce the risk of fraud, provides a greater sense of security, and the progress will build. As progress goes, it builds the trust in general. What else I would like to mention in that space is probably asset tokenization. So it involves creating digital tokens to represent ownership of equity in a project, business, or asset. So this these tokens are stored in a blockchain, making them easy to transfer, trade, or hold an investment, right? So it's one major advantage to simplify and have it if efficiency would be carried along with that tokenization that brings ownership transfers. It's pretty complex, but it definitely puts everything into perspective. Another game-changing aspect is how this tokenization turns traditionally illiquid assets into liquid ones. For example, if we look at real estate, which typically requires significant time and effort to buy and sell, right? So that's that allows them to access existing investments in a probably more easy way. So that's my take on that one in general.
Thank you, Tamer. That's very good. I think Kareem, you put up your hand. I think you had something you wanted to add to this discussion point.
Yes, because as Tamer mentioned, the possibilities are endless, but there's a challenge that usually is being overlooked by most of us crowdfunding operators. It's the conversation with the regulator, because sometimes regulators are still having they want to basically ensure that the technology is secured. So when tech people talk, they understand all the parameters of security. But regulators, they require assurance. So this is a long conversation that all of us, not just us as operators, but also as tech providers, as people who want to introduce these solutions to help everyone within the market, to have these conversations of reassurance and of explanation to the regulators so that we can accelerate the process of growth. I mean, there's, as Tamer said, imagine if we were able to implement AI modules. Imagine if we had the central ledger of the blockchain right there. This would immensely change the game when it comes to basically transactions and securing the investments and putting the regulations. So I think we need to have some sort of a continuous conversation with regulators, with basically even people right down at the individual level, to tell them that no, there are new technologies that are there to secure that investment. It's not just about basically implementing the technology, but also utilizing it in a way to help you in the best way, in the best market fit, basically that fits each market in the Gulf.
That's correct, Kareem, and I think us being in this neck of the woods, definitely we have to touch also on sukuk crowdfunding, right? So Sharia compliant investments models that really prohibits charging interest and mandates in financial activities for that. That is backed by a tangible asset. So it's growing trends in this part of the world, in the GCC.
Yes.
considering that most countries in this region are of more than 90% of Muslim. So investors earn a return only on underlying asset that generates a profit. For instance, this real estate investment returns could somewhat come from rental income or profits from selling those properties.
Yes.
So I think
Yes.
I just wanted also to mention that really crucial part.
Yes.
And I know we can talk about social impacts on
Of
crowdfunding.
course. Yes.
That's another angle that's increasingly being leveraged to support projects addressing environmental challenges, improving healthcare access, promoting social justice, and other really meaningful causes.
I think that's
Welfare, and then
please go ahead, Kareem. I think that was a
no,
good.
no.
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, because it goes even beyond that, because we have a lot of welfare projects that can be crowdfunded. We have a lot of charity projects that can be crowdfunded. So, as Tamer said, no, the possibilities are endless. And we at Biban are very, very, very excited to basically kick off this journey into things that are beyond SMEs and beyond funding projects.
I think you both raised some very good points. I mean, I think the aspect of trust is very important, especially when you're dealing with things like investments, and for people who maybe are not seasoned investors, building trust and that confidence in a digital platform, it's almost like a twofold thing, right? I mean, if I'm someone who doesn't really invest, it's like I have to build trust in investing first, and I also have to now build trust in a digital platform, which I might not be so used to. So I was kind of curious maybe to hear from Nawal on this. In the, let's say, with the different fintechs that you've worked with the regulators that maybe you've been engaging with, how are like the wealth tech crowdfunding startups kind of building that kind of trust with consumers, with regulators, with even fintech associations, or even if you have any suggestions for them how they could do it better in terms of building customer confidence in investing first time, let's say, and also in using these kind of what they would consider, I guess, quite innovative digital platforms.
Well, I mean, we work as Bahrain Fintech Bay, we work with a different range of fintechs, be it, aspiring fintechs or well-established fintechs, those looking to scale, or those just figuring things out, they're just in the ideation stage. So we do work with multiple different fintechs. And the things that we've learned over time, working with these fintechs, is one of the key things on both fronts with these fintechs, with their customers and with ourselves as well, is education. Educating your customers is key. It's really important. You may think that the customer coming onto your platform knows everything, but no, financial literacy is very important. You need to be able to give the consumer the necessary tools and resources that they can use to educate themselves, use your platform in the right way, the way it is meant to be used. I think that is very important. Another point I think is that is very important for these aspiring fintechs to know is that they need to know who their audience is. So, whether you're targeting retail investors, SMEs, high net worth individuals, you need to really understand their need, because if you notice, some of the most successful fintechs out there, they're solving a real problem. So you need to figure out time. You need to take the time and figure it out, that what exactly is the problem that you're trying to solve. I think that's very, very important. The second thing that I think, second or third, I think is the most important point I feel is regulation, both as on an operational side and a customer front side as well. So obviously GCC is ahead of the curve when it comes to fintech regulations, with the frameworks that are designed and in the way that they're designed, keeping both things in mind, which is innovation as well as consumer protection. But still, it's really important to make sure that your platform, the digital investment platform or crowdfunding platform, is following the local regulations, and you're flexible enough to adapt, as those rules change or as these frameworks develop. And the thing about getting the regulatory side right is not that it just keeps things running smoothly, but it also helps build trust with investors and users, which I think is really key in growing and succeeding in the long run, because then your consumers trust you. They know that you're following the rules, you're in compliance with, you know, X, Y, Z, and you're getting things done in the right way. And I mean, Tamer and Kareem just talked about, you know, technology and the use of technology, and I think that these aspiring fintechs really need to use these technologies to their advantage, be it, you know, AI, blockchain, data analytics, everything that Kareem and Tamer discussed. I think you really need to use those into your platform to show that you are tech savvy, that you are with it. I would say, you know, your platform is tech savvy, it's secure, it's transparent, it's scalable. You need to be able to show these things to your customer. And obviously, as Bahrain Fintech Bay, if I may talk about ourselves, you know, it is our mandate to help grow the fintech ecosystem, right? By connecting with stakeholders across different platforms, across multiple places. So, you know, if you're an aspiring fintech, BFB can help you find the right people to connect with, give you the space to network with, you know, other innovators, even with regulators as well, and overall give you access to the resources that you need to help you grow. So I think these are just some key points to keep in mind as an aspiring fintech in the region, both on the operational side as well as you know, on the customer front side. So yeah, I mean, these are just some key points I think that are really, really important to keep in mind.
Thank you,
Well said,
Nawal. That's
Nawal.
very, very well said. Kareem, did you put your hand up? Do you want to add something to that?
Yes, I would like to commend Noel for hitting some very, very important points when it comes to customer education, regulation, and technology, because I think the entire financial ecosystem in Bahrain has to work together. So it can help all types of corporates, whether it's large, medium, small, or startups. Customer education is definitely key. Because if we do not tell people what are the different types of crowdfunding that who should go, for example, to debt, who should, for example, go to equity, who should go to real estate, who should go to whatever kind of type, this is quite important so that we would not have people basically venturing into something they do not know. So everyone actually in the ecosystem has a responsibility to educate their customers, their investors, even the startups, basically to tell them, okay, you should go for this type of crowdfunding, or you need to go for this type of financing. This is on one hand. On the second hand, it's quite important for regulators to understand the newest state of technology. And this requires working together on a continuous basis to not just know what's new, but to understand its implication, both positive and negative, because some of the preventative strategies in order to avoid any problems or shutdowns in systems or shutdowns in operations is to understand where the shortfalls are. And also, as Noel said, if I may, quote you on that, it's basically the fact that you need to know where the problem lies before it happened, or have some sort of a lesson learned after it happened. And this, I think, is a wonderful mindset that we have in Bahrain, so that we can drive the growth of a very, very important sector, which is the SMEs and the startups, who will become basically the growing stars when it comes to basically contributing to the GDP, having basically stock shares abroad, expanding also the different industries that are there. So thank you, Noel. These were very, very good points.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Kareem and Nawal. I think that segues quite nicely because we're talking more about like ecosystems and partnerships, and of course, the success of any of these new fintechs or wealth techs or crowdfunding platforms is a collaboration of a lot of key parts, right? Like you said, the regulators, the associations, obviously the startups, the people who have the investment then to bring these kind of to life. So I wanted to pose a question to you, Tamer. That kind
just before that,
go ahead,
you guys, because both Nawal and Kareem got me thinking.
Sure.
Education, Nawal mentioned, and Kareem, I guess, and for me, I call it more of awareness, right? So raising awareness of what's the impact, right? And crowdfunding from driving that social impact. It's really important to see that the governance of those the environmental, social and governance, the goals in general. So how do you make it an attractive option for, ethical investors seeking, because, there's a big crowd out there looking at that from a socially responsible, investor opportunities. So that kind of awareness, goes a long way, and it's really increasing these days, being leveraged to really support projects that do address environmental challenges. So, if you do that type of awareness and how, technology is there, it will drive it, right? But what are the pillars? What are we looking for? What are we telling investors? What are we telling people that, are coming? So, someone like Bahrain Fintech Bay is really an incubator that addresses both. You talk to the outside world, whoever's wanting to do the investment, and then you have the people that are, making those things and channels available for the crowdfunding and the investment and so on and so forth. So this really provides investors with the opportunity to contribute to that social impact and community development. And that for me really is key, and is something that we're all addressing day in, day out in our lives. So this is all based on values that really make tangible differences in the world. We all actually hope.
No, thank you.
Go ahead, a question for me.
No, that's very considered. Actually, maybe we can stay a little bit on the social impact bit, because I think that's kind of an important thing. And I don't know if maybe Kareem, from your side, there's anything from, let's say, social impact side that you've seen that is, something that consumers care about, or fintechs are addressing, or any examples, or any ways that can be championed. Because I think specifically for, like, probably the Gen Z generation is a lot more aware, or a lot more concerned about not just what, let's say, business, a company does, but what impact they have, right? I mean, you see that across companies and brands all over the world. What a company stands for is as important as what it actually does. So in the crowdfunding space and with Biban, where is the social impact, let's say, within your strategy, or is it something that you're planning to do? Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yes, we do have a main pillar in our upcoming strategy when it comes basically to social impact, because the way we look at it, we don't look at the economy as numbers. We look at it as people. We see basically fathers and mothers raising families. We see young people who want to basically grow and make something for themselves in the world. So we don't want to look at it as, like they're just campaigns and numbers. Each campaign has a story. Each campaign has a purpose that will serve an overall goal to the society, because we are part of the society, right? So we want to help all the new ideas to grow, and then to contribute, and then to help people get more jobs, and then to accelerate the economy. We want basically parents to feel secured when it comes basically to investing in the future for their kids or for their families. We want people to understand that it is not hard to get a house, or to have, for example, an opportunity to invest in, let's say, for example, real estate crowdfunding, and then have an opportunity basically to grow your wealth from there. Every single campaign has a story. And also, we don't want to focus on the business side only. We want to also focus on the humanitarian side, because a lot of campaigns for the underprivileged, for basically building facilities, for building, even social projects or welfare projects, I think we have to support them. It's not just a business obligation. It's more of a moral obligation that we have to basically follow, because if we have the tool to help people, why not? Yes, business it's a great tool for business, but also it can be even a better and greater tool to help people on the ground, whether through education, whether to making things happen, whether to cut off all the red tape that's been happening and get the people to fund the people. So it's always, for me personally, it's always this motto when it comes to crowdfunding: by the people, for the people.
Yeah. I like that. By the people, for the people.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Okay, let me go back to one of our kind of previous points, which we were talking about collaboration, and how obviously, the interplay of the regulators, the associations, and companies kind of work together to create this kind of ecosystem, right? So Tamer, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your view on, what ways do you see collaboration between fintech companies and financial institutions evolving in the GCC, and particularly in the crowdfunding space? I mean, it could be fintech companies, vendors, even regulators, but how is that kind of, how have you seen the different kind of interplay changing, and how is it actually evolving for the future to address these transformation imperatives that we have?
It is, Tom, it is increasing. I mean, we are increasingly witnessing those strategic partnerships, right? So this is between definitely the financial technology companies and financial institutions in the region and beyond. I mean, in the GCC in particular, and this is really expected to continue the way I see it, and particularly in the crowdfunding space. That makes a lot of sense, and it will definitely increase as we go along. So some of the ways that if we look at those collaborations and what's expected to evolve and what is next, do really include, I would say, something within the the traditional and alternative financing, I guess. So from a financial institutional perspective, I think we're expected to really integrate the crowdfunding models with the traditional banking products. This is definitely going to be there. This really offers, I would say, the customers access to broader range of financing options. So this synergy will, in my humble opinion, really create a hybrid solution that combines best of maybe both worlds. So traditional banking security, and the flexibility of Fintech driving the crowdfunding, aspirations and movement. So also we can look, Tom, at expanding access to capital SMEs. And, SMEs really play an integral role in the economic growth in the GCC, as we all know. So in countries like the United Arab Emirates, for example, their contribution to the GDP is, as high as 50 plus 55%, 53% along those percentages. So, however, despite their importance, SMEs often struggle with access to capital, and we all know that. So financial institutions are increasingly eyeing this opportunity to support growth of SMEs, and maybe strategically partnering with fintech companies, financial technology companies, to help build digital crowdfunding solution, I would say. Looking further and beyond from a cross-border perspective. So the GCC is home to probably pretty much a diverse mix of international banks and operating from outside the region, as well as local banks in the GCC, or this part of the region, with the networks extending across various jurisdictions. So within the region and beyond. So as digital crowdfunding really depends on that, and those opportunities for investors and larger pool, of financing for startups, businesses, and entrepreneurs. So yeah, I think that's my take on that. And maybe one more point, which is the financial inclusion. So there's an impact for investment there. When financial institutions pretty much equip individual with the knowledge and the understanding of opportunities such as crowdfunding, they're not only empowering and the underserved populations, but also creating pathways for their own growth. So as fintechs and financial institutions collaborate more together and closely, the focus is expected to shift towards enhancing the financial inclusion and driving the impact. So the opportunities are there, and they're major.
Okay, I think that's
so that's what I think is happening in that sense. I don't know if you guys want to talk about or our colleagues today about the ecosystem that's embedded in banking as well. So it's all coming together, and it's really expected to be integrated within as crowdfunding within the ecosystem, and that's key if it's gonna grow and go further directly into banking apps today. This is pretty cool, because if you look at banking apps, and we're in that space building those apps, and it's becoming a super app, why not include that? So that will be at the fingertips of all people. So fintech should be enabling banks, with those tools and products and
I
so
think
on.
that's a very good kind of point that you've raised. I mean, this whole idea of obviously the embedded finance, right? And embedding kind of financial apps into other kind of experiences or
Yeah.
customer journeys rather than just having kind of almost like your own wealth tech app. It's kind of embedding that technology into, whatever various apps that are not banking related are there. Maybe that's something that while you could tell us a little bit about from your point of view. I mean, how are you how has your view been on kind of embedded finance and have you seen anything in terms of wealth tech being embedded into different experiences in the various kind of companies or exposures you've had to the space through the association?
I mean, of course, embedded finance, I think, is a very important topic. I mean, at Bahrain FinTech Bay, we've published multiple, focused pieces on the topic itself, embedded finance, and I think it's something really important, especially in today's world, that focuses a lot on lifestyle banking. Just to touch a bit on it, lifestyle banking is, as the name suggests, it's banking that fits your lifestyle, banking that suits your lifestyle needs, your preferences. It's more personalized to what you do, whether you're into fitness or you're into entertainment, your finances are personalized in that way. And I think that is where embedded finance comes into play. But when you talk about wealth tech, I think my personal take on wealth tech being embedded into different apps and places, I think it's still very nascent in Bahrain. I think there is a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of room for, these new opportunities where we can really, really innovate. We can really bring in some amazing players or even support, the locals that are trying to put something together. I mean, obviously, like, we talked about collaboration between ecosystems, between different stakeholders. I think that is really important to bring this to life, because at this point of time, the wealth tech space in Bahrain is very nascent. We really need to work on putting it, taking it to the next level and getting it, within the embedded finance sector. So yeah, I think there's a lot of room for improvement, and given the right stakeholders working on such projects, and obviously now we have Beban coming in with their crowdfunding platform. I think they're going to be changing the space quite a bit more than we and it can be really good for Bahrain.
Thank you for that, Nawal. I think we're kind of running into sort of our end time. So I think if you're okay with it, I will kind of move on to our QA, because we have a couple of questions that have kind of been sent through to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're fine with that, I'll kind of go through. There's a couple of questions. So we have one which I think maybe Kareem, you might be able to provide some insight on. So someone's asked, so for instance, when it comes to crowdfunding platforms and wealth tech, what are some specific or some strategies or opportunities that fintechs can use to actually engage Gen Z investors, or Gen Z, or I think even now we have Generation Alpha, which is the even slightly younger generation. So how can these kind of platforms engage these sort of much younger customers who might be prioritizing, for instance, social impact or transparency, which we touched about a little bit. But sort of how can these platforms engage those younger investors who are obviously going to be moving into their careers and obviously starting to build wealth? Are there any particular strategies or tactics or approaches that you've maybe tried out or you think might be successful? Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, first of all, when you come basically to addressing Gen Z and Gen Alpha particularly, you have to be very specific and very, very special. Not specialized, but you have to be very focused on what you offer, because Gen Z and Gen Alpha might get, they want everything with a click of a button. So if they are, for example, looking for opportunities, they need to basically be explained to what the opportunity, how it works, what is the return, and at the same time, they want to see tracks, right? They want to see, for example, a technology track. They want to see, for example, a industry track. They want to see, for example, an agriculture track, so that they can see which kind of tracks that they can choose, instead of going through a lot of opportunities and then seeing, okay, this is tech, this is agriculture, this is, for example, fintech, so it's all about putting it or stacking the opportunities in a certain way so that it would have these younger investors looking at, okay, I want to focus, for example, on agriculture, right? On agriculture opportunities. So they want to see all the agriculture opportunities. So this is one approach. The second approach is that to keep it simple and interactive, right? They don't want to spend time going through paperwork and financial statements and all that. They just want a summary, let's say, for example, an infograph or a video graph that talks about the opportunity. What are they doing? How are they doing? What is the expected yield or benefit from investing from this opportunity? And what are the streams of investment? How many shares should you go in? What is the minimum? What is the maximum? All of these details. So this is, I think, one of the ways to look at it, or one of the strategies that you can use. Of course, social media is a key driver for this because nobody will go into the platform by their own. It has to be basically promoted and communicated through social media. But also, I would believe personal interaction also plays an important role. So when you go to universities, when you go, for example, to fintech hubs, when you go, for example, to venture capital events, and they see the platform there, and you start to engage, right? Plus social media, plus basically putting these opportunities into stacks so that they can understand what tracks that they should go to. I think this will help them to know more about the opportunities and even encourage them basically to, go into these opportunities.
Thank you for that, Kareem. Nawal, is there anything you would like to add to that, or I think you're probably the closest to our target demographic from this profile of people here. Where I guess from your perspective, if you were like to look at actually using one of these platforms, what would be the things that I guess you would see as, oh, this would appeal to me, and this is something I'd want to see in something like a wealth tech or crowdfunding platform?
I think, okay, something to start off with, very basic. I think the look and feel of the application needs to connect with the users. So if you're looking for people who are tech savvy, the Gen Z, or what is this new generation that we're calling Alpha, Generation Alpha? Yeah. So if you want to connect with these people, I think you need to really focus on the customer journey, the UI UX of it, and just focus on attracting those people in the first place on the platform. Second, once you get people onto those platform, you need to actually provide value in terms of your services really need to be different from what people are seeing probably in your competitors. I think that's really important. You need to focus on that. You need to be more competitive in terms of, the kind of fees you charge probably, or the kind of products, or the kind of projects you have listed on the platform. I think you really need to show value there and provide all the information. Transparency is key when it comes to these sort of platforms. You need to be able to show all the information in a very concise and transparent manner to be able to connect with these users. Also, I think another very important point, which I already touched upon, is having financial literacy tools on the platform itself, which will help people understand. So maybe I'm a person who's come up to this crowdfunding platform, and yes, I heard about crowdfunding, but I'm not really sure how it works, what I should get into. So I should be able to have that button to click, learn more, or, something like that, that'll take me to an article, a video, or anything visual, really, to just digest all that information and get started with my crowdfunding journey. So I think these are some very light touch key points that I think we need to focus on if we are looking to get into this the space of getting people on board with these solutions.
Thank you for that, Noah. I think you're right. I mean, very much nowadays, I think the differentiator, not just in wealth tech and crowdfunding, but in any app or experience or banking, app or any fintech app, it's the experience, right? End of the day, it's kind of how streamlined is it? How intuitive is it? Because I think in many regards, a lot of the kind of the technology in the background kind of works, but that's not what customers see, right? They don't see the stuff that happens on like payment rails or integrations. They see what's on the app, and that's kind of what they judge sort of the experience by, so to speak, right? Tamer, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add to that, or maybe you've seen anything you've seen in terms of, because this is linked to one of the questions someone mentioned that, are there any apps or wealth tech, or even could be beyond apps that you feel are doing the kind of experience piece really well, that are kind of
It's coming. I mean, Tom, yeah, I mean, rightfully said by both Nawal and Kareem today. But I think again, opportunities today for the new generation is at large, right? So, while growing up, that your parents used to invest, and that is always reflected to people at a certain age, right? It's a taboo for anyone to think of that. But I guess the younger generation, as everything is coming into an app. You have financial your financial finances are there, your investment is there, your lifestyle is there. So it's a combination pretty much on everything. So again, I go back to what Nawal said earlier into this webinar today is really education, and I say awareness. So at the end of the day, these generations pretty much are looking at the same things. Okay, we think differently than the younger generation. I look at my kids and what's coming ahead. I think clarity is important. Karim mentioned that, being precise. Our generation, because we're hybrid, so we're exposed to pre-internet, as we said earlier, to post-internet. So my kids were born knowing that internet is there, iPads are there at the finger, at their fingertips, available for them. So the way they perceive and look at things is different than us. So I think yes, education is there, should take more place. Awareness should take more place. Being responsible, how you invest and how you do things, is there. From a technology perspective, yes, it's in the background, it's running. It's how you bring ideas and aspirations into life is what's important, and looking at the environment and everything that surrounds us. So good times ahead, exciting times. Things are moving in a positive direction in our part of the world, which is pretty amazing, I would say.
Thanks for that, Tamer. There's a question that someone posted, which I think is it's almost like a flip side of what we've just been discussing. And I think, again, maybe Kareem, you might be able to kind of illustrate that. So actually people are asking, well, if we're addressing Generation Z, Generation Alpha, as we said, through kind of the experience and through kind of the transparency and social impact. But then how do you at the same time, for instance, make sure you don't alienate the older generation, right? Who might have actually, more money to invest in crowdfunding, might be a little bit more savvy in terms of financial literacy, but might not be quite as savvy in the digital aspect of, maybe they don't use social media as much, or maybe they're not quite, they don't trust some of these apps, for instance. So how do you address what we've said for the younger generation without alienating the older generation? Or is it a case of actually you do alienate them and say, you know what, we want to champion a product for just Gen Z, and actually we don't want the older generation? I don't know. How do you see that?
I think this is a very, very good and complex question, because as there are more numbers of the younger generations are basically growing, we have also to cater to the older generation who, yes, they have the experience, they have the finances, and they have basically the investment punch basically that is needed to upgrade the numbers. But they would go into more old school ways. So you might not approach them through social media, you want to approach them personally. So this is why activations matter. So, but let's say, for example, this is also a challenge that has been faced by digital banks specifically, and I think Tamer also knows about this, is that, like older people or senior citizens, or basically people who have done things traditionally, want a look and feel and a customer journey that's very, very simple and basic. They don't want the colors and they don't want the graphics. They want something, a button that is pushed that will take them somewhere else. No complications, no whatever. This is on one hand. On the second hand, when you come basically to presenting the opportunities, I think here we can find the similarity between the old and the new generations, because again, it's all about how you display and how you put the information out there. All right. Again, with the transparency, how are they financially doing with basically the type of business model and role that they do? What are, for example, their outstanding debts? how many rounds did they raise, for example, previously and all that. But the technique itself needs to be different. So I think this is more of a marketing game rather than a tech game, because the tech, it's there. It's the stack is there. The infrastructure is there. It's all about how you present it. So for Gen Z, they want the simple, the quick, the flashy, the up to the point, the look and feel, the very smooth journey. But for the older people, they want straight to the point. They don't want all the shenanigans and all the fireworks that are out there. They just want straight to the point. I want to know how they are financially, and how can I invest. So if we come to think about it, both question, like for the previous, and then it's all about, as Noel said, it's all about the look and feel, the customer journey, the transparency, and the tools. Because let's say, for example, it's the first time for them to go into crowdfunding. How can I invest? How can I invest? How can I participate? How can I sign up? How can I onboard myself? All right. What if I needed the crowdfunding as a senior citizen or as a sailor? So yes, I mean, it all comes back again to the points of there has to be tools, there has to be look and feel, there has to be a journey, but the message will of course be different from the young to the new to the old, and also the old would prefer face-to-face rather than using the platform. So this is my 2 cents on it.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So I guess you have to have a very, multi-tiered strategy, right? And whether it's the design, whether it's the marketing, you have to kind of make sure you're, as we know, marketing 101,
absolutely, yes.
Know your audience, right?
Yes, exactly. You cannot unify the whole thing. It's impossible to unify the whole. Yeah.
Know your audience, actually. That is key. I mean, if you're addressing
Yes.
the new generation, I mean, they're all over social media. So you need to come up with something that looks and feels like social media. Right, don't take them away and deprive them of that. This is where they enjoy the colors, the designs, and then put the information there where they can go through those journeys and not feel alienated from their own existing platform on social media where they're spending most of their time. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty complicated, yet we have to simplify it, and it depends again with each entity we work with is. What's the audience? What's the message? What do you need to do? And then take it from there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, I think we're kind of just about hitting our time limit. Is there anything else that anyone would like to add that maybe I didn't ask, a question or a point that you'd like to kind of reinforce before we wrap up?
For me, I would definitely like to thank Tamer, Noel, and yourself, Tom, for this interesting conversation. And I think that this would be a seed for future conversations that we will have in the future on how we can empower this ecosystem. Noel and Tamer, I hope we can, get more conversations in the future so that we can work on enhancing it and improving this ecosystem together.
Always happy to do so, Kareem, and of course with the help of Nawal and the team.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I think this is really wonderful having this discussion, and in future, both Tom or Kareem, if you ever need anything and Bahrain Fintech we can be of service, we're more than happy to accommodate you. So thank you so much for having me on this panel. Really appreciate it. It was a great discussion.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you all for joining us, Kareem, Nawal, Tamer.
Thank you,
and of course, thank you to our audience for attending. Just to everyone, we'll have this live recording. We'll post it up on our various channels later. So in case you missed it, or is anything you want to rewatch or refocus on, you'll be able to do that over the next couple of weeks. But again, thank you everybody for joining us. We'll wrap it up now and give you back a bit of your time. And hope you have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all. Take care.